look to be exactly what Park is going to do here. It's not a very wide giant board, but it's enough pressure on board, still 13 power, that Ray will have to respond with that light bomb if he has a deck instead of that generated card, and really just keep Park guessing.
Light Bomb does come out to clear the board, and now it's on Park to figure out how to reload. Plan actually might just work here with the Clockwork Giant. You don't need too much of a discount there just to play a 4-mana 8/8.
4-mana 7/7s were pretty good, and even though Park doesn't have the ability to play Naga Sea Witch and multiple giants in the same turn, he can just go ahead and drop one giant, but there's the best counter that Ray has available to him outside of Shadow Essence into Yasharaj turn clock at this point.
Doesn't look like there's going to be much of an opportunity for Park to use that Shadow form that's in hand. He doesn't have really any cheap, like you'd like to Void Caller it maybe and use
as Q-Block, say, or just a strict control Warlock. It's a much more aggressive deck with a big, but Park's Priest doesn't have light bombs, can't as easily deal with the Warlock.
The first of 2 Obsidian statues comes down, and that's going to provide a little bit more defense, and of course the
flame this turn, then you're risking your Clockwork Giant just getting killed again by the death rattle of the Obsidian statue. So I do like here that Park isn't finding the clear that he
really want to get that Blood Reaver Gul'dan down as soon as possible then to get your Void Lords back before the board gets too full.
That's one way to look at it, yes. Okay. But also you want to get the most value out of your Blood Reaver Gul'dan that you possibly can, so you would like to make use of these Void Walkers and then be able to generate more Void Walkers off of Blood Reaver. These Void Walkers are great minions, but Death Rattle onto a Void Walker. Park also just had the option of, at any point in time, he can play Clockwork Giant and Shadow Flame and hopefully full clear the board, but looking like he wants to save that for a little bit later as sort of a panic button. He's not in a position right now where he needs to hit that big red button and just reset the board state. He can wait a little bit longer. That is a very unfortunate death rattle. You even see Park playing that Kobold Librarian before triggering the death rattle from the Obsidian statue to try and make absolutely certain that one of these Void Walkers would take the death rattle. But unfortunately, that's how Hearthstone goes sometimes, that Mal'Ganis will die. And that's going to be lethal from Ray. The clear from the Excavated Evil, 16 guaranteed to face off of the Rue, a big board in one fell swoop. So Park, if this Void Lord is able to be pulled, could be setting up potentially for just
a Noyotron. You're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, Noyotron can be a very valuable tool when you're facing down 16 damage worth of giants, but I do like what you were saying. Park, before this Stegodon came down, didn't actually have a way to clear with.
I like running the Void Caller and just doing the whole giant plan at this point. The 4/1 is too easy to trade with if you just want the cheaty Void Lord, and even though he's at 10 health, suddenly it looks like he just might win next turn.
I am very surprised that Raypeko has chosen not to run Equality and not to run Spellbreaker in this Paladin deck. Yes, Void Lord was going to come down, was going to mess up his plans, but now Ray has to go through this Void Lord the hard way.
And with 5 mana Blood Reaver Gul'dan in hand, that's not looking really good. If you can cast that for the cheaps, you're in pretty good shape. Besides the 5 armor, gaining that...
I think it may be the Void Lord. I don't think there's any reason to play Lotheb, as Park is not very worried about Call to Arms. There's no Equality to
Shadow Flame it is.
Make cost 7 instead of 5. But no, Park just wants to get the damage in this turn. And this now on board is only... So Park here really trying to consider all of the possible counterplay that Raypeko has. Sunkeeper Tarim, I think, is probably public enemy #1 in Park's mind. But with this Void Lord coming down, Sunkeeper Tarim is not getting through both the Void Lords and all of the Void Walkers that are to come out after that.
And Dude Paladin right up against Alnith Burn and Big Priest.
And looking at those matchups, the Dude Paladin very likely to take a win up against the Secret Burn Mage. Just because Dude Paladin has repetitive damage from minions on board, it's very difficult for the mage to deal with all of the minions on the board, and very difficult for them to find the bird damage to win the game before the Paladin is just able to kill the mage. As far as the Druid...
Muster for battle. If you're looking at Park's deck list, there's no cheap board clears. There's not arcane missiles. There's not even, if you'll believe it...
And the Forgotten Torches as well. Those are the only 2 differences, I believe.
+3 attack seems like the obvious choice here. I wonder what he's thinking about. Stealth? That can't be right. Yeah, it's got to be +3 attack.
Yeah, take as aggressive of a stance as possible, though I do think a trade into this Arcanologist is not incorrect, but I don't also think it's necessary. Park's going to be doing a lot of the trading for Raypeko because he's simply forced to. Look at this amount of damage that's on board here for Ray already. Alright, he is going to choose to trade into this Arcanologist. Maybe a deck is at such an advantage up against this mage. The mage, however, very good against Warlock, which is why I'm wondering a little bit why Park has brought this mage deck and still banned away the Warlock deck from Ray.
Could be a misplay, could be a next level strategy, but you're right that the Dude Paladin, Alnith Mage, and Giants Warlock form the sort of tripod of the meta. That is the... Remember in like elementary school you play Foursquare and just dunk the ball on each other?
Well, Rumham, the cool kids played Foursquare. I, unfortunately, didn't come into my own brand of coolness until I was, like, 20. So, I was on the swings.
Tough life. Swings are fun.
Time he's also sitting at only 10 life, and the Lotheb from Ray, whenever he decides to play it, pretty much shuts down everything that Park can feasibly do in a single turn.
Going with Tarim now, adding 2 damage to the board. Oh, and it can eat an explosive rune sitting there on the board as a 3-1. Great read by Raypeko, knowing that if he played Lotheb, while he would have gotten the effect, you would have lost the 5-5. Instead, for just 1 more mana, you can maintain that board presence and are easily threatening lethal next turn.
Oh, so unfortunate for Park. He does find the Alneth, so he has the resource advantage in the long term, but he can't play it this turn without just dying. He can attempt to clear off everything except for 3 damage on this board here from Ray and hope that his block stays active for next turn. If that's the case, then he will have a turn where he can play perhaps that Alneth without having to play an ice block in the same turn as well. But we can see with the Vine Cleaver in hand, Ray can pop Park here at 1 life, and I think that's just going to be checkmate.
Nothing, and he could play another ice block, but at that point you're just buying time. I mean, a 0 mana 5/5 Cabal Crystal Runner is good board presence, but it's not going to keep you alive without taunt. And those 1/1s are even more threatening. Now Vine Cleaver really showing its presence. Well done, says Park, scoops his cards, and Raypeko is going up.
You knock on the bushes, the lime comes up, and then you can cut that in half. But
Goblins versus Gnomes isn't bad too, because you can shoot them in the face. You can,
and you
line
can
up
launch the rocket.
Oh yeah, that's a fun
fun.
one. Here we go. Mad Scientist going to face, dropping Raypeko.
With Park's lineup and his ban, he's going for, as we can see from that priest, maybe a more anti-aggro strategy, but I don't know. The mage deck is a bit of an outlier here.
Counterspell off the top, goes right under the hero. We're going to keep pushing here. 5 damage onto Raypeko. It's almost like Park is kind of forcing a response. Like, all right, I'm going to keep my Mad Scientist hit you for 2, 4, 6 damage, and it's still going to trade with something at some point.
This early chip damage is so, so important for Park. Valuable spells behind it, because this isn't a matchup where Ray really wants to get that combo and win through that full combo. He just wants to not die.
Right. If Park can run out of cards in hand and still not again, Park does not have any major ways to get rid of big minions. There's no Potion of Polymorph in the deck. There's no Polymorph itself. There's not really anything that happens. You could just hard cast Malygos and next turn set up for a big win.
That is a possibility. Park here.
Get off in an ultimate infestation, which will then refill your hand, help clear the board, and get you back to that stage. Now, of course, that counterspell down there is dangerous. You're going to have to do something on turn 9 to pop that counterspell before running ultimate infestation out on the board.
That's absolutely correct, and I can definitely see Ray next turn maybe, well, before ultimate infestation comes down on turn 10, but it would mean that he has to forego gaining 3 armor this next turn with the hero power unless he picks up a cheaper spell.
That's a kind of a risky move here for Park. He's going to go in and just try to burn his way to victory here. 12 health left, but Raypeko is going to be gaining 3 armor every single turn if he wants to. There's Living Roots. Perfect draw, as you mentioned. Triggers the counterspell. Counterspell's off the...
This is just a very defensive turn with branching paths for... You could go for +1 attack and armor to kill the Arcanologist this turn. And then he can still use the hero-powered armor for an additional 3. So Ray going to be set at a very safe life total, choosing to draw instead. That's interesting, especially since it looks like he's slating Ultimate Infestation for next turn. Just really valuing having as many cards as possible. He'll still be able to play Ultimate Infestation next turn. He'll go to 10 cards, which means he will burn 1 after.
2 turns ago to turn this around. Raypeko starting to turn the corner and just generating the value he needs. He's going to Ultimate Infestation the Sorcerer's Apprentice off the board, get a 5/5, draw a bunch of cards, and it's just a matter of time until that combo is pulled off. Looks like Raypeko might take this set. Yeah.
But it could be that it costs 0 mana. Just a thought.
Yeah, if a guy saw that in Arena, I think I'd pick like a 0 mana deal 11.
I think I would too.
They don't even have cards that good in the Ragnaros v Nefarian Tavern Brawl that is live right now. Some powerful cards in those decks, no 0 mana deal 11s.
That is true. Ray couldn't actually go through with the combo this turn because Eviana must be played first, and Eviana would have been killed by the explosive. So he gets Park as close to 1 health on the block pop as possible. And we can see that Park does have another ice block in hand, but again, without Alaneth and with no ability to clear this board, I don't see any chance for Park to win this.
Yep, it's going to be over right here. So we're going to pop this ice block. Park can play another one, but at that point, he's got 2 cards left in hand. He needs to do 26 damage from hand with 2 cards. That's tough. He needs some 0 mana deal 11s to do that.
It's not so difficult for Ray to do, though. Unfortunately.
Ultimate
for Park.
Infestation sitting around at what, deal 10 now?
Yeah.
Deal 10, draw 10, make it 10-10? No. It's too
Not
much.
quite.
Too much.
We're not doubling all of those, as if Ultimate Infestation wasn't strong enough, and that's going to do it. Raypeko with a 3-1 victory.